Thank you for watching QTV with the news. My name is SUMBWE. We take a look at our top stories. Housing and Infrastructure Development Minister Ronald Chitotela has been acquitted of corruption charges by the Lusaka Magistrate Court. The latest Global Corruption Barometer Africa report has revealed that 66% of Zambians believe corruption has increased in the country. And Higher Education Minister Nkanduluo says she will only reopen the Copperbelt University once security measures have been put in place. And now the news in detail. The Lusaka Magistrate Court has acquitted Housing and Infrastructure Development Minister Ronald Chitotela, who was facing corruption charges. This is in a matter in which Mr. Chitotela and 3 others were alleged to have concealed and possessed properties suspected to be proceeds of crime. Delivering ruling in the matter, Lusaka Magistrate David Musamba said the state has failed to establish a prima facie case against Mr. Chitotela and his 3 co-accused. Mr. Simsamba says the prosecution has failed to show proof of the alleged crimes committed by the minister and his co-accused. Magistrate Simsamba says he could not convict Mr. Chitotela based on the evidence before the court because it has only been proven as mere suspicion. He has explained that the prosecution needed to prove that the money used to procure the alleged concealed properties was indeed payment by China Harbour Engineering as earlier claimed. And speaking shortly after the court ruling, Mr. Chitotela, who was cheered by a crowd of supporters, thanked God that he had been set free. He also thanked all those that believed in his innocence.
The party in Lusaka, in Okra province, I say thank you so much for believing in my innocence. Now that we need to have time to go back and start working, we need to work for the people. Thank you so much.
The latest Global Corruption Barometer GCB Africa report has revealed that 66% of Zambians believe corruption has increased in the country. The report has also revealed that 70% of people in Zambia think government is not doing enough in tackling corruption. Transparency International Zambia, in partnership with Afrobarometer, conducted the survey between the end of July and September 2018. The GCB is the largest, most detailed survey of citizens' views on corruption and bribery in Africa. According to the report, the range of corruption challenges that African citizens face is complex and multifaceted, requiring fundamental and systematic changes. Speaking at the launch of the report, TIZ Chapter President Ruben Lufuka has noted the need for serious political will in fighting corruption, which he says has become a problem. Mr. Lufuka is proposing that government reviews and strengthens the parliamentary and ministerial code of conduct and lifestyle audits.
As more people become corrupt, they need as much support as possible, technical support, financial support, etc. I think let's not even be having these discussions we've had about FIC. It is detrimental to the fight against corruption. The corrupt are happy when they see government really going flat out in demonizing their own institution. Those that are corrupt, those that want to do unscrupulous things, even have a party because you are making it easier for them to do their work. We do recommend that government agently appoints a substantive Auditor General. We cannot go on with this acting business. I think there is every need to have a substantive Auditor General. We'd like to fully operationalize the whistleblower protection mechanisms as provided for in the Public Interest Disclosure Act. It is there, but is it being used the way we would like it to? We think that more can be done. We'd like to see the Access to Information Bill being tabled. It's been in draft for a very long while, and I think it is time that this was tabled. We'd like to review and government review and strengthen the parliamentary and ministerial code of conduct to explicitly provide for lifestyle audits. And I'm making this point because I've heard the Vice President on 2 occasions make a statement we do not believe in as TI. She said lifestyle audits are not necessary because we have annual declarations of assets, incomes, and liabilities. And the moment she said that, we said, well, then she's contradicting herself. If all MPs and ministers duly declare their assets, incomes, and liabilities on an annual basis, then lifestyle audit should not be a problem.
Meanwhile, Mr. Lifuka says the Global Corruption Barometer GCB Africa report considers the police service as the most corrupt institution. The report further has revealed that an average of 54% of people believe that most or all police officers are corrupt in Zambia.
Has corruption levels changed in the previous 12 months? This is Zambia's now. It increased, in fact, in the responses, increased from 55% in 2015 to 66%. For those that say it decreased, in fact, the number has dropped. Initially, 24% more people believed corruption had decreased. Now, only 16% of the people believe corruption has decreased. Stayed the same, the number has also dropped. Previously, it was a high of 16% of the people surveyed who believed it had stayed the same. Now we are down to 13%. Do not know, 5%. And refuse to answer, more like Zambians, no one refused to answer, they had to answer. Corruption by institutions, the president's office, it has increased from, and the question was percentage, who thinks that most or all people in these institutions are corrupt. The numbers increased from 27% in 2015 to 32%. Members of parliament, it has increased from 34% to 36%. Government officials, it has increased from 32% to 37%. Local government officials from 33% to 34%. Police has moved from 51% to 54%. The only one that has dropped is judges and magistrates. It has dropped from 30% to 28%. Followed by religious leaders, it has also dropped from 16% to 11%. We included this year a question on NGOs in Zambia. 13% believe that most or all people in these institutions are corrupt. Maybe that includes myself, because I'm part of NGOs, us NGOs. Business executives, it dropped slightly from 32% to 31%, and traditional leaders also dropped from 21% to 16%. Only 16% think traditional leaders are corrupt.
Speaking at the same event, Anti-Corruption Commission Deputy Director General Rosemary Kuzwayo has warned that engaging in corrupt activities, that law enforcement agencies will catch up with them. Higher Education Minister Nkanduluo says she will not reopen the Copperfield University until security measures are put in place to avert future disturbances. Professor Luo has told Parliament in a ministerial statement that she will, in due course, announce the date for the reopening of the university once the security measures have been put in place at the institution. She adds that once security measures have been implemented at the CBU, government will also embark on implementing similar security measures at the University of Zambia and eventually roll out the same to all public universities and other institutions of higher learning. Professor Luo says she wants to bring sanity to CBU and all the universities in the country at large. She says that the Ministry of Finance has since released an initial 10 million kwacha towards the security measures being put in place at the institution. Professor Luo states that as a determined measure to mitigate the cost of repairing the damaged property, the university will surcharge all students upon their return.
In order to avert these unfortunate circumstances that happen at our universities, including the University of Zambia, where we lost our innocent soul, and on the other of the security wings, the ministry saw it fit to close this institution until such a time that the security situation at the campus was improved and the damaged property was replaced to ensure a conducive learning environment. Mr. Speaker, in this regard, the Minister of Higher Education has been working closely with the university management to ensure that the damaged property and infrastructure at the university is repaired and security measures are put in place before reopening the university. I wish to report, Mr. Speaker, that considerable progress has been recorded, and I wish to announce the date of I will be announcing the date of reopening the university in due course. And I want to repeat this for the sake of the lives that are on social media. I wish to report that considerable progress has been recorded, and I will only announce the date of reopening the University of Copperbelt in due course.
Meanwhile, Professor Luo has expressed concern that despite government and the parents and guardians sparing no effort or expense in ensuring students are in school, students continue to exhibit irresponsible tendencies that resulted in the closure of the university. She says by closing the CBU on 5th April, she simply gave the students the pleasure after they asked her to close the institution when she visited the university.
Mr. Speaker, I believe no amount of anger should ever drive students to riot and damage private property and university infrastructure, which the nation sacrifices for by foregoing other social amenities. As government, we shall not spare any student, member of staff, or the public involved in instigating riotous behavior in our institutions of higher learning. Having said so, Mr. Speaker, I wish to assure this august House and the nation at large that it's not government's intention and desire to close any institution of higher learning, considering the high premium the PF government has placed on education. This is evident in the continued huge development and investment that the government has put in.
The Opposition Alliance has begun showing signs of crumbling, with Patriots for Economic Progress PEP President Sean Tembo announcing that his party has quit the alliance with immediate effect. Mr. Tembo, who was the alliance spokesperson, made the announcement during a media briefing in Lusaka. He cited the attitude of some of the alliance members who he says do not value the unity of the opposition as one of the reasons for quitting. Mr. Tembo says the difference in opinion regarding the necessity of opposition unity as a prerequisite for the 2021 opposition electoral victory essentially renders his party's continued participation in the opposition alliance redundant. He says his party cannot force itself and its assistance on some of the key members of the opposition alliance that believe they do not require any assistance. Mr. Tembo states that some of the alliance partners believe they are capable of winning the 2021 elections without the need for opposition unity. He says that their belief regarding the irrelevance of opposition unity as a vehicle for the 2021 electoral victory naturally informed their attitudes towards the opposition alliance in general and alliance members in particular.
As Patriots for Economic Progress, we are strong believers in the practice of civilized politics, whereby we look at our political opponents not as our enemies, but rather as our rivals. Therefore, it is our expectation that despite our withdrawal from the opposition alliance, we shall continue to relate well with our brothers and sisters in the opposition alliance, and possibly even collaborate on other issues of common interest. Additionally, if in future the key members of the opposition alliance have a genuine change of perspective and adopt a sincere belief that they need us to complement each other.
Opposition alliance members include the UPND, NDC, NAREP, ADD, among other parties. Division in the alliance emerged when the UPND and NDC both decided to field candidates in the Lower Ward local government by-election in Kitwe, after initially agreeing to support each other in the Katuba parliamentary by-election and the Lower Ward by-election. The Zambia Revenue Authority ZRA has dismissed the story suggesting that it has paid Konkola Copper Mines about 95 million kwacha in VAT tax refunds to pay legal fees to the liquidator Milingolungu. ZRA Commissioner General Kingsley Chanda says no such payments have been made to KCM. In a statement obtained by Q News, Mr. Chanda says KCM owes ZRA more than what the authority owes it. He has explained that all duly audited and verified value-added tax claims due for payment will be offset against the company's outstanding liabilities. Mr. Chanda says Konkola Copper Mines will continue to be treated like any other business in as so far to tax matters are concerned. Socialist Party presidential candidate Fred Mwembe was summoned to the police headquarters in Lusaka for questioning. It is not known what police want to question Dr. Membe about. After spending 10 minutes at the force headquarters, Dr. Membe was later advised to report to Machinga Province Division headquarters for questioning. It is suspected that police want to question the Socialist Party leader on what transpired in Buchinga Province last month after police officers broke into Shiwangandu district. Dr. Membe's lawyer refused to comment on the matter.
She's there.
Madam, we would like to find out why he was summoned here.
No information. You can speak with him.
Oh, he's told us to speak to you.
No comment.
The Human Rights Commission has joined other stakeholders in expressing concern over the continued closure of the Copperbelt University. Minister of Higher Education Professor Nkanduluo in April closed CBU due to riots by the students. Commission Chairperson Madford Mwandenga has wondered why it has taken long for the learning institution to be reopened. Mr. Mwandenga has told Q News that by now government should have taken steps to address what led to the closure of the Copperbelt University. He has urged government to find a lasting solution to students' riots, stressing that this will help government and learning institutions avoid future closures of higher learning institutions in the country.
This issue of SUMBWE has
these stoppages of attending classes will continue, and as a result of that, the closures will always continue. So it's up to the government to find a solution to what is causing the students to act in that particular fashion. Of course, some of the things I think are bigger than what we think of. We don't know what causes the problems, but it's something which the government should get to the bottom of, so that at least they find a solution on how to deal with the student unrest, which results in those closure. So the idea of maybe the parents not taking the students there should at the same time be dealt with, where an understanding, some dialogue should be had, so that issues that relate to the disturbances, the problems that affect the various learning institutions are dealt with. Once those issues are dealt with, I believe that disturbances will be a thing of the past.
The Commuters' Rights Association of Zambia, CRAZ, has welcomed government's decision to revise the Zambia Highway Code in a bid to reduce the number of fatalities and injuries on the road. Association President Aaron Kamuti says it is now time for law enforcers to ensure that the revised highway code is adhered to by all road users. Mr. Kamuti says the implementation of the revised Zambia Highway Code is the only way the country will reduce the number of fatalities on the roads.
Highway Code. I think we have appreciated that this is something we started. We are part of this process. We were at Fringira for some time, looking at how we can revise this highway code, and eventually it has come to pass. I think we appreciate what has been done. The launch by Dr. Brian Mushimba, the Honorable Minister of Transport and Communication, is a welcome move. What we want to see now is to make this law become proactive, not just talking about it without doing anything to improve on the road safety on our roads.
The bodies of 2 employees of Yalero Fish Farm in Siavonga District who drowned on Lake Kariba on Friday, 7 July 2019 have been retrieved from the lake by the Zambia Army, Siavonga Marine Police and Yalero Fish Farm divers. Siavonga District Commissioner Lavmo Kanyama confirmed to Q News that the bodies which were retrieved on the 9th and 10th of July have since been buried. Mr. Kanyama is therefore encouraging employees working on water, including those who conduct their fishing activities on both Lake Kariba and Zambezi River, not to go on the water without life jackets. He says all fishing companies in Siavonga District are directed to procure life jackets for their employees, and that companies which will not comply with this directive will have their fishing licenses suspended. Mr. Kanyama says those investing and intending to invest in the booming fish farming industry should seriously invest in the safety of their employees to avoid the loss of lives that can easily be avoided. Agriculture Minister Michael Katambo is confident the Food Reserve Agency will meet its target to buy 300,000 tons of maize, despite the price it's offering being lower than the market price. Mr. Katambo says this is considering that the price at which private buyers are buying maize is concentrated along the line of rail. He has told QTV News that the FRA is, however, capable of buying maize beyond the line of rail. Mr. Katambo states that to this effect, the agency is entering the market with upfront money to pay farmers who will supply it with the grain.
We will definitely be convinced to reach the 300,000 metric tons. As you are aware, I announced the crop forecast survey in the first week of May this year, where we told you that we are harvesting or anticipating to harvest about 2 million metric tons of maize. So from the 2 million metric tons, we have carryover stocks under the Food Reserve Agency. The private sector also have some stocks in their hands which they are holding, meaning going to the market with upfront money to pay the farmers who are going to deliver maize or supply maize to FRA, it means we could be able to meet the 300,000. So if we buy 300,000 plus the carryover stocks that we have and what we have in the strategic reserve, we'll be able to be food secured as a nation. So that is why I'm basing my argument and assuring the nation that the nation is food secured. We will
Lusaka City Council and State Police have been deployed in the Central Business District to repel the influx of street vendors. Lusaka City Council Public Relations Manager George Sichimba says some people have been spreading false information that vending has been legalized and cashing in on some unsuspecting vendors by charging them as much as 1,500 kwacha each for a single trading space. Mr. Sichimba says the council has in the last few days observed an influx of vendors in the Central Business District following the spread of false information. He has dismissed the information going round as false, stressing that vending is still illegal and that the council will not allow vendors to return to the Central Business District. Mr. Sichimba has since appealed to those who have abandoned spaces in markets and are trading from the streets to go back before their spaces are allocated to other traders. He says the council has established that there are about 8,000 empty spaces in markets around the city.
We will definitely be convinced to reach.
In the last few days, we have witnessed an influx of vendors coming back into town simply because some people are spreading false information that vending has been legalized now. I don't know why people are spreading such malicious information, and some unscrupulous people took advantage of the situation and they started demarcating trading spaces and allegedly charging and suspecting vendors as much as 1,500 kwacha, you can imagine. And these people have been demarcating these spaces using paint in town. If you go in town and check, you find that there are white lines on the tarmac. It means that's a plot. And so this is not true. The Lusaka City Council is not going to allow vendors to come back into CBD. CBD is already congested in terms of traffic. You may be aware that there are a lot of minibuses that are shunting here and there. There are a lot of cars and people that are doing business in there. And so to bring back vendors will just worsen the situation, and there will be commotion or chaos, if you like. And so
SUMBWE says it bought cassava from over 5,000 small-scale farmers with 10 million kwacha last year under the cassava project. Company Corporate Affairs Director Ezekiel Sekele says the company bought about 7,000 metric tons of cassava from farmers in Luapula province for the use of production of Igolaga. Mr. Sekele says that the project is aimed at supporting government's diversification agenda as well as help in the effective implementation of the national alcohol policy through production and packaging local alcoholic beverages. He says that the company will continue providing a sustained market for farmers in the northern parts of the country.
So we trying to focus on core areas of our economy. If we're in the alcohol sector, for us it's about investing from the soil, agriculture, finally into the retail trade. And the crops or materials, raw materials, that which we used to import, we're trying to substitute. We want to promote import substitution. So we are looking at what we can produce in Zambia. We're producing cassava, and we are seeing that through cassava. Last year, we managed to buy 7,000 tons of cassava. We had budgeted ourselves to buy 5,000 metric tons of cassava. We bought 7,000 tons of cassava. We are buying at 1.4 kwacha per kg, and if you do the maths, it gives you almost about 10 million kwacha. So 10 million kwacha is the incomes that went to our colleagues, to our brothers and sisters, those who are involved in cassava in the rural area. Beyond that, this year in March, we told ourselves that there is no way that Zambian brewers can buy all the cassava. There is a potential market of about, the raw cassava I'm told is about 4 million tons, I think, if my number serves me well. But the market can produce about 1.5. The raw cassava is about 4 million tons, I'm told. From there, once you do the processing, you get 1.5. So
to end the news, we take a look at stories making headlines. Housing and Infrastructure Development Minister Ronald Chitotela has been acquitted of corruption charges by the Lusaka Magistrate Court. The latest Global Corruption Barometer Africa report has revealed that 66% of Zambians believe corruption has increased in the country. And Higher Education Minister Nkanduluo says she will only reopen the Copperbelt University once security measures have been put in place. On that note, we come to the end of the news. Pleasant viewing.